All right, good morning on this fine morning. This is Monday. This is Mr. Trutna. Today is 4 days away from Halloween. So that would make it October 28th. And we're going to be going over the Math 2, the Unit 5 review worksheet. Okay, and I've circled the problems that I'm going to go over. I'm not going to go over every single problem on the worksheet. I'm just going to go over some of them. All right, so in number 1, it says we're going to show, so the directions for numbers 1 through 20 are we're going to show all work for each problem, and then it has a note here that said the diagrams are not drawn to scale. So in number 1, what is the value of x? So you can see x right here is what we're trying to find. X represents an angle. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to recognize how many sides this shape has. So this shape has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sides. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the formula n minus 2 in parentheses multiplied by 180 degrees, where n is going to be how many sides the shape has, which is 5. So we're going to go 5 minus 2, which is 3. We're going to multiply that by 180 degrees, and we're going to get 540 degrees. Okay, now that answer right there, 540 degrees, is not the answer that we're looking for. So you don't want to say that the answer is A in number 1. That is, that they're trying to distract you, and they're trying to get you, whoever wrote this problem, is trying to get you to pick the incorrect answer. Remember, what this 540 says is it's saying that the x angle plus the 120 degree angle plus the 390 degree angles plus the 90 plus the other 90 plus the third 90, what that 540 is saying is that all of those angles will have a sum of 540 degrees. Remember, this formula is the formula that we use to find the sum of the interior angles. Okay, and then we're going to use this equation right here to accurately find the value of x. Okay, so I'm going to combine the 120 with the 90 with the 90 with the 90. That would be 390. So we would get x plus 390 is equal to 540. Then you would subtract 390 from both sides of the equation. So then x is going to be equal to 150. So the answer to number 1 was actually C. Okay, number 2, determine the value of x. We're going to do the same concept in number 2 as we did in number 1. And the reason why we're going to do that is because we're dealing with angles, and we're dealing with the 4 angles of a shape that we don't know what it is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply the formula n minus 2 times 180 degrees. This formula will tell us how many degrees all 4 angles will add up to, and in this case n is 4 because this shape has 4 sides. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 2 times 180 degrees would be 360 degrees. Okay, now once again, what does that tell us? Well, that number right there, 360, tells us that if I take this angle, 5x minus 4, I add it to 8x plus 1 angle, I add it to the 95, and I add that to the 73 angle, all of those angles will add up to 360 degrees. So in other words, 5x minus 4 plus 8x plus 1 plus 95 plus 73. So in other words, the sum of all the interior angles will have to be equal to 360 degrees. Okay, so that would be the equation that we would need to create to find the value of x. And now I'm going to use algebra to find it. So I'm going to combine the 5x with the positive 8x, and that's going to give me 13x. And then I'm going to combine all the numbers together. Negative 4 plus 1, so that's negative 3. Negative 3 plus 95 gives me 92. 92 plus 73 gives me 165. So 13x plus 165 would be equal to 360, and then I would continue to solve. Take away or subtract 165 from both sides of the equation, and then we would get 360 minus 165 is 195. So now my equation would be 13x is equal to 195. Divide both sides by 13, and you can see that x turns out to be 15 when we divide that out. Therefore, my answer to number 2 was A. Okay, number 3, determine the sum of the exterior angles of an octagon. Okay, so really the key is in this problem is we're asking for the sum of the exterior angles. Okay, well, and it's of an octagon, which means it's an 8-sided shape, but that's irrelevant. The answer to number 3 is C. No matter how many sides the shape has, no matter what the shape is, the sum of the exterior angles is always 360. Okay, number 4, determine the measure of each interior angle of a regular sided polygon with 9 sides. Okay, so in this shape right here, we want to find the measure of each interior angle. Okay, so the formula to find the measure of each interior angle, or one individual interior angle, is you take n minus 2, you multiply it by 180 degrees, and then you divide that by n. And remember, whenever we're using these formulas, n stands for the number of sides. And we have a 9-sided shape. So we're going to turn or substitute 9 in the place of n. So my formula would become 9 minus 2 times 180, and then I'm going to divide that by n. Okay, 9 minus 2 is 7. 7 times 180 is 1,260. And then we're going to divide that number by 9, and that's going to be how much each interior angle is going to be, and that's 140 degrees. So number 4 would have been D. Skipping to number 6, it says the measure of an interior angle of a regular polygon is 162. How many sides does the polygon have? Okay, so the formula to find the number of sides is you take 360 and then you divide it by the measure of one exterior angle. Okay, so in order to find the number of sides of a shape, you need to know how many degrees one exterior angle is, and the key is that you need to know an exterior angle. All right, so if you notice, we have 162 right here, but 162 is the measure of an interior angle. So we can't put 162 into this formula right here. I saw a lot of students doing that. And as a matter of fact, if you did put 162 into this formula and you went 360 divided by 162, you can see that your answer would turn out to be 2.222222. Well, you can't have a shape that has 2.22 sides. So this is not what you're going to do in this problem. Okay, so how do you find an exterior angle if an interior angle is 162? Okay, well, remember, an interior angle plus an exterior angle are always going to be supplementary. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that the interior angle plus an exterior angle will always add up to 180. So to find an exterior angle, you have to take away 162 from 180, so that's 18. Okay, that's your exterior angle. So to find this answer, you'd go 360, divide it by 18, that is 20. So in number 6, this is a 20-sided shape. Okay, number 7. Determine the value of x. Okay, so here's x right here. So if you notice, x is representing this angle, and that angle where x is, it's on the outside of the shape. Okay, so that is an exterior angle is what we're trying to find. Well, in order to find an exterior angle, what we need to do first is we need to find this missing angle right here, which is an interior angle. Now, why would that help us? Well, because up here, remember we just said an interior angle, which would be that angle, plus the exterior angle, which is that, are supplementary. Okay, so let's find this interior angle. So how do I do it? Well, I'm going to use the sum of the interior angles. First, I'm going to count how many sides does this shape have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see this is a 6-sided shape. So I'm going to use the formula 6 minus 2. Multiply that by 180 degrees. That's 4 times 180, so that is 720 degrees. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that the 140 plus the 100 degree angle plus the other 100 degree angle plus the other 140 degrees plus the third 100 degree angle plus this missing angle right here, well, I'll put a question mark right there, plus that missing angle, all of those angles are going to add up to 720 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to figure out how much that is. So I'm going to add up 140, 100, 100, 140, 100, 300. That'd be 580. So that means 580 plus this mystery interior angle is going to be equal to 720. Okay, so that means that mystery angle has to be 140 degrees. So this angle here has to be 140 degrees. I took away 580 from 720 to get my answer. Well, that's not the answer for x. Notice there's no 140 here, but remember an interior and an exterior have to be supplementary, so that means the answer number 7 has to be B, 40 degrees, because 40 and 140 make 180. And that's what supplementary means. Okay, turning the page over to number 8. Number 8 says find the number of, hold on, there we go. Number 8 says find the number of sides for a regular polygon if each exterior angle has a measure of 15 degrees. So remember, the way that we find how many sides a shape has is you take 360 and you divide it by one exterior angle measure. One exterior angle measure. And in this particular problem, you are told that an exterior angle has a measure of 15. So substitute 15 into the denominator of the fraction and divide it out. 360 divided by 15 is 24. So this shape has 24 sides to it. Okay, that would be number 8. Number 9. So in number 9 it says if f to h is equal to 30, so f to h, if you notice, is this entire diagonal right here. So it's saying if that entire diagonal right there is equal to 30, we just want to find f to k. And f to k is just this part right here. So how much of the entire diagonal is it? Well, f to k is half of it. So if the entire thing is 30, that means both of these parts have to be 15. So there's your answer to number 9, would be 15. Okay, number 11. So if you notice in number 11, it says, what are the values of the variables in the given parallelogram? So we're going to find the values of the variables. We have an x and we have a y, and then we're going to write the property we use to solve for x and y, okay? And we know that the shape is a parallelogram. All right, so first of all, let's focus in on the angles that have the x in them. So notice this angle right here, which is represented by the expression 6x minus 8, and then this angle right here, which is represented by the expression 4x plus 6, these angles are called opposite angles. All right, so if a shape is a parallelogram, the opposite angles are equal. So the equation that I'm going to use to solve for x is, I would take 6x minus 8 and make it equal to 4x plus 6 right there. All right, sorry, the lights just went out. We got forest fires going on, PG&E cut the bill. Oh, nope, they didn't. I just had to turn on my light there. Okay, so I'm going to solve this for x. So I'm going to, and by the way, what's the property that I just used? I just used the property that opposite angles are congruent. Okay, so for every parallelogram, opposite angles are congruent. Subtract 4x's from both sides of the equation. That would cancel out those 4x's. My new equation becomes 2x minus 8 equals 6. I would add 8 to both sides of the equation. That would cancel out the 8's. My new equation becomes 2x is equal to 14. Divide both sides by 2. X is equal to 7. All right, so there's my value for x. So you could see if this was a multiple choice, I could eliminate C and D as possibilities for my answers. Okay, so now I need to find the value of y. All right, so how do I find the value of y? Well, the first thing I want to do is, since I know that x is 7, I'm going to plug in or substitute 7 in the place of x right here to figure out how many degrees each angle is. So 6 times 7 is 42. 42 minus 8 is 34. So that means this angle here is 34 degrees, and that angle right there would also have to be 34 degrees. Okay, so now we take a look at the angle that has the y in it. So if you notice, the angle that has the y is that angle right there, and that angle, 2y plus 16, is consecutive with the 34, either 34. Okay, so the rule is when a shape is a parallelogram, and this is the property we're going to use to solve for y, consecutive angles are supplementary. Okay, so what does the word supplementary mean? It means that the angles add up to 180 degrees. So the equation that I would write to solve for y would be 2y plus 16 plus either one of these angles, because they're both consecutive with the 2y plus 16, 34, that would be equal to 180. And then I would use algebra to solve that. Combine the 16 and the 34 together to make 50. So we would get 2y plus 50 is equal to 180. I would subtract 50 from both sides of the equation. So 2y would be equal to 130. I would divide both sides by 2. Y is equal to 65. Okay, so that means B would have to be the answer. All right, number 13. This will be the last one that I'll do, and then I'll take a break for a little bit. So number 13, which statements are true for a parallelogram? Select all that apply. Okay, so notice it says select all that apply, and we're picking the statements that are true. So that means there could be more than one answer. So A, the measure of angle A, here's angle A, plus the measure of angle B equals 180. Okay, well, what type of angles are those? We just talked about those. Those are called consecutive angles. They're supplementary. So that means they add to 180. So A is true. How about the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle C equals 180? Okay, there's C. Well, what type of angles are those in a parallelogram? Well, those are opposite angles. Remember, opposite angles are equal, so that doesn't mean they necessarily add up to 180, so B is not necessarily true. How about angle A is congruent to angle D? Okay, no, that's not true. Angle B would be congruent to angle D. Angle A is congruent to angle C, so that's not a true statement. Okay, side BC, so this top side right here is congruent to side AD, the bottom side. So is the top side congruent to the bottom side in a parallelogram? That is true. Remember, the opposite sides are congruent. And then angle A is congruent to the measure of angle C. Those are opposite angles, so number 13 would be true as well. I mean, so it would be A and D would be the three true statements in number 13. Okay, moving on to number 14 right here. Oh, whoops, I don't want to lie to you. I'm stopping right here. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to Pokeland to get some lunch. It's almost lunchtime right now. I'll post this video and then I'll put more work on it in just a bit.